Good evening and welcome to Plain Talk. My name is Christopher Ram. Thank you for joining us for the next hour. We will discuss, as you would have seen on the screen, well, maybe you haven't seen it as yet, sugar and politics. I don't want to mislead you. We don't only talk about sugar or politics in the context of sugar. We'll be talking about the excitement in the National Assembly on the debate of Budget 2018, and we'll speak as well on the final admission of the payment of a signing bonus by ExxonMobil to the government of Guyana, a matter which had been titillating the public interest for close to 16 months or more, and we finally had a revelation earlier this week. So it'll be quite interesting. The person I'm talking with this evening is Ramon Gaskin, no stranger to the program. Ramon, you're very keen to address sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar, which has been the backbone of Guyana from the time, in fact, it was three separate countries,
Mm-hmm.
The three counties, and where you had different ownership. Sugar, tobacco were the
Mm-hmm.
critical products. Now it looks like sugar is on its way out, and I want you to start talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years into the APNU plus AFC government, chaired by sugar economists with a great credential in sugar, Dr. Clive Thomas, distinguished professor, how has GuySuCo performed in the past 30 months? It's been a deep hole
Mm-hmm.
of subsidies. So should we get rid of it?
Oh, the question of what to do with GuySuCo. The sugar, what is called, GuySuCo is a sugar company. The sugar industry, of course, is the company plus the private people who are involved in cane cultivation and so on. That is the industry. The whole history of Guyana and British Guyana, of course, is tied up with sugar. For hundreds of years now. The history of slavery is tied up with sugar. The slaves were brought here, the chattel slaves, to do the sugar. After emancipation in 1838, indentured slaves were brought here. They call them indentured workers. I think they're indentured slaves. They were brought here to work in sugar too.
Well, slaves would always be indentured, and
yeah.
The politically correct term now is they're enslaved rather than slaves.
Yes. Where you had the chattel slaves, you had the indentured slaves. The indentured slaves, I think, were emancipated by proclamation in 1920, thereabouts, January 1, and then you had the wage slaves. That was followed by the wage slaves. It's something called wage slavery, which, of course, Marx wrote about a lot in those days. So the whole history of sugar in this country is the history of slavery, which still continues up to this day. Even after the state took over the sugar industry and the sugar company.
And that was in the late 70s.
Yes, they continue to run it. They used to continue to run it like a slave plantation. They haven't changed that. Bookers are plantation people. The managers that the Bookers trained over the years, they were trained as plantation managers. The culture of Bookers and Sandwich Park is the culture of the slave.
The overseers.
And the slave master and the slave manager. We still have it with us up to today, the people here who still running the thing. So it's a whole history of slavery. And sugar did well for the plantation owners for many years. In the last set of years, things have changed. Coming down to more modern times, we have, of course, the reasons for the collapse of the sugar company. I would say the reasons have to do essentially with the cutting of the price that we get from the European Union by 36%. That happened. Then we had this...
During that time, we did get money from the EU
yes,
to cushion us.
Yes, to come out, to exit the industry if we wanted to do that.
Or to rationalize it.
But I think the Jagdeo administration and Mr. Jagdeo himself took a decision, in retrospect it turned to be a wrong and ill-conceived strategic decision to invest hundreds of millions of US in Skeldon, which at the time we were told would produce 450,000 tons, and the unit price would come down.
But I'm asking you, I wanted to bring it
to where now.
Yes.
So the company has collapsed.
Since 2015.
The company has collapsed. It collapsed and was illiquid and bankrupt and insolvent since the last years of the Jagdeo administration. And the Jagdeo administration had been bailing out the company to the tune of about $1 billion every month. When this new administration came into power...
Are you conflating the Jagdeo administration with the Ramatar administration?
Yes, all the same, yes. Yeah, Jagdeo Ramatar. Yes,
okay.
Jagdeo Ramatar. $1 billion a month. This present Granger administration, I think, made a decision that they're not going to continue to put $1 billion a month into this thing. So you had this famous Commission of Inquiry with Parliamentary and Clive Thomas and all of that.
We've covered a lot of that on
and
this
we come to
already,
that, yes. So now the thing is being sold off.
Yeah, but what I wanted to get, what under Clive Thomas's stewardship,
yeah, it is being dismantled and sold off and gotten rid of.
He is this expert.
Yeah, and he is presiding over the dismantling of it. He himself. He is presiding over the dismantling of it.
Do you find that ironic?
Nothing in this country surprises me now.
No, I'm asking if you find it ironic.
I'm never surprised at anything. I'm never surprised at anything. Clive Thomas is an accomplished economist. He has written a lot on the subject matter. But now, when you come into government, people change a lot. We see it with Dr. Scotland. Now that he's into government, people change a lot when they get into government. You're not the same people that you were prior to your entry into government. And this is after Clive Thomas. He's now a big technocrat, bureaucrat. He's a senior man. He's the chairman of the big company, and he's also head, of course, of the SARA, which is an investigative thing.
The issue I'm getting at,
mm-hmm.
if it was the case that look, we had to rationalize, we had
mm-hmm.
to close,
mm-hmm.
why couldn't GuySuCo do it themselves?
Oh,
now you have this big consultancy.
Yes, and this special purpose unit with a gentleman, Mr. London, hundreds of millions of dollars, and bringing in people now, Pricewaterhouse, all of them coming now to evaluate these assets and all of that. It's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. I think this government probably has a preference for that model, that way of doing things, to bring in this man, London. I don't know him, but I guess they know him, and he's going to be in charge of that. And he's their man, and through him they'll get to do what is it they want to do. This is all part of as a control over the process. You bring your man in to do what is it you want to do.
Okay, so we bungled it prior to the APNU AFC.
Yes. You had.
Are we bungling the privatization of it now?
Oh well, I don't know if this gentleman and these people who are involved.
Well, look at the money. Look at the money. Look at the process.
Yes. I don't know if they can do a proper job. I don't know what they will do, and I have no confidence that they will do it in a transparent and fair and honest and open manner. I have no confidence. There's nothing here that's happening in this country that leads me to believe that it will be a fair and even and transparent process. I have no confidence at all.
Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder has been talking about this so-called white paper. And I say so-called because it really is not worth the paper it's written on.
It's nothing is there.
It was actually a disgrace.
It is, totally. It's nothing there at all.
And that was a collaborative effort between GuySuCo, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Cabinet.
But he is being removed altogether from this whole thing and is put into the hands of this special purpose unit headed by a gentleman called London, who's going to bring in a whole lot of people from outside to do this thing. We're told that there are many people have indicated an interest in buying up some of this thing, and we don't know who will sell it and to whom and at what price. We don't know.
Have we, from what you've heard, now, lots of people don't seem to realize this, and I wonder if these so-called consultants even realize it. A lot of the cane lands are not owned by GuySuCo.
They don't see that as a problem because in our system here, the state can vest it anytime they wish into the NISL. The NISL can transfer it to the privatization people and they can deal with it. The government doesn't see that as a problem.
Well, you could easily be giving away serious real estate.
Oh yes, absolutely, yes.
Because you didn't think it had any value.
That's correct. Yes, but I think we just gave somebody 10,000 acres in the Rupununi somewhere to do something. Some people from Barbados. Oh yes, they will give away a lot of it. They will sell it. They make deals under the table, over the table. All kinds of things will happen with these lands. In the Parliamentary report, incidentally, Clive Thomas in his presentation to Parliamentary said that GuySuCo from 2016 and 17 and onwards could earn over $5.7 billion with a B on the sale of our estate lands.
A billion being 100,000.
Yes.
A thousand million. Yes.
5.7 billion. And henceforward in the 2-3 years time, GuySuCo, if it continues
would be cash rich.
Would not need any subsidies from the government. Now we see in the national budget for 2018, the ministers put aside $6.3 billion for GuySuCo. So my question is that if you're going to get $6.3 billion from the minister and you're getting $5.7 billion from the sale of land, that sounds like $12 billion to me that they have to play with in the place. But the biggest disaster of all is not the privatization and the sale of the land and all of that. It's what is happening to people in that place. That's the big problem that they don't like to talk about. What is happening to the people in that place? The workforce at GuySuCo is being reduced from 17,007 down to 7,700. And about 10,000 people are being sent home. We see it already. They're not giving you the full numbers. The whole set at Wales, a next set at Iflock, 400 there at somewhere, 2,000 at Skeldon, on and on. It is going to be 10,000 people. There is no plan for these people to retrain them, to get alternative jobs to these people. We're heading into a very big disaster when it comes to dealing with these people, these workers, who have given their life, I guess, for many years, serving the industry and the company, and they're being thrown on the breadline. This is the real big problem we're facing in this country.
Do you see anything in that $6 billion to give the workers of GuySuCo termination pay as required by the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act?
Well,
the government, it appears, is going to be breaching the law.
Well, maybe we don't know if the government is going to pay that or the company has to pay that. The employer has to pay that.
Hold on. There is no money. We know that they don't get to know $5 billion. Forget what like
forget about that.
That's a joke.
Although some of it was sold, they started to sell some lands.
Yes. No, but I'm talking about this $6 billion.
This
$6 billion is nothing to do with termination pay. So there is no provision being made for these people. Now, the income taxes will have an impact. National insurance will have an impact. The commercial banks will have an impact. The entire community will be affected by this decision. Do you see any brains at work to address that amalgam of problems?
No. Well, what I see here, and if you go back to the minister's budget, 2018, 2017, 2016, there are 7 programs for training and retraining and entrepreneurship training. One is called SLED, HEYS is $1 billion, SLED, one is named YIPOG, and a whole lot of nonsense. 7 of them, but there's not a single program for retraining or to help these people get into any economic activity for the sugar workers. There's not a single program has been devised so far, but there's 7 other programs in place for other communities. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a deliberate, effort and a refusal to create some kind of program to help these people.
You're saying nothing is wrong with that.
To-
If you just take money
Mm.
to siphon off here and to give there,
Mm.
there's a lot wrong with that.
No,
That doesn't make
Mhm.
it. That's not a good use of
well,
state funds.
No, well, the hinterland communities and some other communities, a lot of people in this country need help.
Yes.
There are nothing wrong with devising a program for them. But you cannot devise 7 programs and you don't have a single program for these people. It sounds like deliberate, it sounds malicious, it sounds vicious, it sounds vindictive, it sounds criminal to me.
All right.
That you can design all these programs for other communities and you don't have anything for these people. That's what you have here. That's what you have here. 7 programs in place costing billions and billions of dollars for other communities, and there's nothing in place or planned or provided for these sugar workers who are being thrown on the breadline. Thousands of them. I know the HEYS program is over $1 billion. Then you have the YIPOG and the SLED and 7 of them in all. That's what you have here. 7 programs have been designed.
I'm not surprised that you have a problem with naming all of those
But there's plenty.
what Ramon McRae said in the budget review, the entire alphabet
Yes,
is covered with acronyms.
Yes.
From A to ZZZ.
Yeah, but the HEYS is the big one. That's $1 billion, and the YPOG and the SLED and 4 other programs, 7 in all. I've counted them. I don't remember all the acronyms, but I know there are 7 programs costing billions and billions have been put aside.
Do we have any idea how much money is put aside for consultancy for this privatization of sugar?
Well, the special purpose unit has over $130 million for them.
Yeah,
to
but we
begin
don't know
with.
what that is for.
Oh, well, no, it was listed. I see it in the list of items for 2 SUVs. Incidentally, I like to read all these things. 2 SUVs are inside the $132 million. But for the Price Waterhouse people, we don't know. NISL might pay some, GuySuCo might pay some, government will pay some. We don't know. But it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's what they're about.
I know you are not. You say nothing surprises you.
That's
in
correct.
Guyana. Again, I ask: is it ironic that the government that nationalized sugar is now rushing to privatize it? Do you see any?
No, I don't. It happened before. All that Burnham nationalized, Hoyt upturned all of that. The only thing he didn't do was sugar. And the Jagan government from '92, they continued with the Hoyt program. But the only thing that Jagan didn't want to trouble was sugar. But he did agree, as part of the fund program, for the private management of sugar. That they agreed on. But in terms of privatizing sugar, Jagan never agreed to that.
So sugar is not going to be sweet
but now,
for Christmas.
But now we've come to the point where it's going.
It's bittersweet sugar.
Well, Jagan had written a book about that years ago, a pamphlet called
we talking about the present situation.
No, that was the name of his pamphlet. Bittersweet Sugar. Yeah, the old PPP document.
So you take away my... I thought I was being creative.
No, PPP had it years ago, Bittersweet Sugar.
This budget debate, Raymond.
But we have big problems here. But the big problem here has to do with the people who are being dislocated. And not a single effort has been put into anything to deal with this problem.
The budget debate.
Oh.
The budget and its debate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the largest budget ever in the history of Guyana. It's the largest deficit in Guyana ever.
Deficits plural.
Deficits.
Yeah.
Now,
3 of them.
In fact, it is so bad that for the first time ever, the Ministry of Finance has not included a statement on the consolidated fund.
The balance of it.
The balance of the consolidated. Now, that's unthinkable.
They may even have breached the law there. I think all the rules governing financial management and the appropriations bill and all of that. That might have been breached. the failure to properly account for the consolidated fund. The consolidated fund is a serious business in the Constitution in 216. The Constitution takes it very seriously. And if the minister can't give you the balance of it, I'm not sure if he's complying with the rules that have been around for a long time.
In his budget for the earlier years, the first three budgets, he had a statement on the consolidated fund. But as I said, this government has been spending massive amounts of money. The consolidated fund has moved by approximately 150% for the deficit. It's as bad as that.
Yes, we see it in the numbers there.
Now, are we saying it's fair if I mean, if the government is spending money and there's an economic or a social or a social return? Do you see the results?
The return on this investment.
The return on the investment.
No, there's none
because
at all.
we're having declining. The economy is contracting.
While the economy is contracting, they're employing all these people in the public service, 4,000 more in the police and army, and spending and travel and all, and that's where all the money is going. It's nothing productive that the government could point to and say, this here, you see this thing here? We built it. No, there's nothing they can point in 30 months and say, yes, we did this. There's nothing they can point to. Nothing in the 30 months. They talk about the West Coast Road. There was an old project, West Coast Road, East Coast Road, this road, that road. None of it is PNC, AFC road. They have nothing to show for the 30 months they've been there. Nothing.
Now, Parliament or the National Assembly is the watchdog for public expenditure.
Supreme organ, yes. Supreme lawmaking authority, yes.
Lawmaking authority. Yes. So much so, it's the single biggest event of the National Assembly in any year.
Well, they don't work for most of the year anyhow, but they try to put in 5 days now on the budget.
Well, I have the research that we have done at Ramon Gaskin suggests this is the least productive parliament. The Barton Scotland Parliament is the least productive parliament in post-independence Guyana.
And the reason for that?
Now,
you know what's the reason for that?
Well, you tell us.
The reason for that essentially is that the ministers and the MPs are always traveling, and they're afraid to call the parliament, because when they call the parliament into session, they don't have the 33 votes against the 32 on the other side. So because they don't have the votes, because they're always traveling, they don't call the parliament into session.
I don't quite agree with you.
Because
Parliament hasn't been meeting. No, they have. Yeah, but you don't just meet for the sake of meeting, Raymond. You meet
to do business.
The function of the National Assembly is to pass laws for the peace, order, and good government of the country. No laws are being passed. No laws are being prepared. We have Law Revision Commission. We have all kinds of things.
Nothing at all.
This is the laziest bunch of parliamentarians I have ever witnessed, and I've been around.
But they have to. The passing of laws is one of the principal functions of
the National Assembly.
But they also have another function, which they don't attend to at all, which is to discuss among themselves there, the elected representatives of the people's business. Yeah. They don't do that. We've been hearing now.
Well, when you say people's business...
Well, I will give an example with the one that particularly has been bothering me for some time now. We're told recently, the last couple of days, that this 18 million US...
We'll get to that one.
It's to pay fees for some court case, and lawyers are being hired for something to defend Guyana's territory. But the parliament has not discussed what is it they're talking about. What case is this? I don't know of any case before any court.
We will get to that.
We're coming to that, right? Good, yes. Please, yes.
We've got some time.
You got time, good.
Now, what stands out for you in this budget debate so far?
Oh, well, I could tell you that I've always had an interest in all of these things. Um, in terms of what they call a debate up there, I haven't been following it. I think it's unproductive. I think it's a waste of time. I think the numbers are wrong that the minister is presenting there. The projections are out of whack. I think much of it makes no sense to me just listening to all of this. And in terms of what they call a debate inside there, there's not much of a debate. It's not much of a debate.
When it's not much of a debate, what would be much of a debate?
There's not a serious debate of the economy of this country, of the direction of this country, of the model of development that
yeah, but
that
you're talking there about policy articulation, but the budget
is
a financial plan.
Yeah,
it's a financial plan.
Yeah, so where the money is to be spent and where it is to come from. And we know, you talk about the deficits earlier, massive deficit in the current, massive deficit in the capital, massive deficit in the trade, borrowing all the time to cover these deficits. That's what you have there. Borrowing the domestic debt is quite high, the external debt is quite high. I don't think, when you take the total domestic and external debt, the per capita debt really from 92 hasn't changed much. The debt service has improved because the economy is much larger, but the per capita debt, we're going to 1.8 billion.
You got to be careful about the economy is larger
and can handle it better than 92.
But you know as well that a lot of this economy and the production of this economy doesn't belong to us.
Oh yes, I know that.
It belongs to your friends,
we talked
Rusal
and Bosai and Guyana Goldfields, and so we talked about that before, and Baishan Lane and Rung On and Rung Off and all of them. Yes. And all of it is a lot of production, and they put it on a barge or a ship, and they ship it to wherever they ship it. And they count it here. They count it here as GDP,
as part of GDP.
The national economy here.
But it is, yes, your revenue, the state's revenue is expanding, but the state's expenditure is expanding at a faster rate.
Oh, yes. We see it here. I think we looked at some numbers the other day. And the last year of the Ramatar government, the GDF payroll was 4.2 billion, and now the GDF payroll is up to 7.5 billion.
Yes.
And similarly for the Guyana Defense Force, but then you have 4,000 new people into the
you said the Army and then the Guyana Defense Force. Which are the ones you're talking about?
The Guyana Police Force.
Or the police, yes.
And then I said, but similar thing, I guess, in the Army. They're sending all the people there to join the Army and the police and so on. And then you have in the regular public service another 4,000 people there they have to cater for, from 10 to 14,000. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And what is not counted? What is not counted, Raymond, are that vast army of people who work at parastatal agencies.
They're not inside the GGMC and the GGMC, the Forestry Commission, and this commission and that a lot of other people there. Oh yes, they're employing people there all the time. Many of them, of course, have no work to do, like City Council, but they're there because there's the only job creation there is around the place really that you can see.
Now, tell me your view on this story involving Bishop Wanajil, a key finance spokesperson of the People's Progressive Party. Give me your take on Speaker Barton Scotland shutting it down and then taking rather draconian measures, including when we saw police coming in, we hear he didn't call the police. Well, who called the police?
We don't know that.
Then the police should not be entering into the National Assembly.
We all know that it's never happened before independence and since independence. It's never happened in the history, I think, of the National Assembly. It's never happened, but it happened this week. But I think that the Speaker erred by trying to shut down the debate on the thing, by preventing people from speaking. The so-called debate on on the budget started off with a motion to cut the thing to 5 days.
Because these guys are lazy.
Yes, it started there.
Look, Ramjatan is sleeping in the National Assembly.
Yeah. I saw him asleep. Well,
he's not the only MP who sleeps.
A lot of them were asleep. But I'm not surprised that Jordan's 5 hours thing would put you to sleep. I really sympathize with Ramjatan. Anybody, I might even have fallen asleep. You never know. To listen to Jordan for 5 months, hours at a time, even I would probably have fallen. They were all asleep. I think at one time I see Scotland was nodding. He was barely trying to catch himself and raise his head. He and all was falling asleep. After the 5-hour presentation of Vincent Jordan, just repeating himself all the time, talking all that nonsense. But it started there. Where you're trying to curtail, to prevent the debate, to prevent the people from the other side from speaking. The problem started right there.
No, but listen. When he was told to take his seat, you have to have order in the National Assembly. And the Speaker is responsible for imposing order in the National Assembly. Did Bishop Wanegil take his seat when he was ordered to take his seat? And if he didn't, wasn't that a breach of the rules?
My own view is that the MP or any citizen in any situation must obey a lawful order, but does not have to obey an unlawful order. That's my position. And if you try to prevent me from speaking, I would have to consider that an unlawful order. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, but you can't expect to speak as long as you
want.
No,
you can't. No.
There must be rules.
Oh, there was no agreement. There was no agreement.
Apparently there was.
No. The opposition party was not in the meeting to decide on time.
But Amnali told him how long they were allowed to speak.
Oh yeah, well she fixing the rules. Well, she fix them. That's where you get the problem.
No.
That's where you get the problem.
Don't you see the PPP side as being at fault? Because the normal parliamentary practice is that when you're asked or commanded by the Speaker, you're politely asked to take your seat, someone gets up and asks the Speaker that can my colleague be
allowed to continue
15 minutes, and it's depending on the seriousness you give extra time. That wasn't done. Was that a mistake by the PPP?
I see last night Scotland ordered Jagdo to take his seat too. And Jagdo kept on speaking after Amnali tabled a motion to suspend Ejil for 4 sit-ins, and Jagdo got up to challenge, to say something, and Scotland told him to take your seat, Mr. Jagdo, call him by his surname. And Jagdo was speaking, he ordered him to take it. Eventually Jagdo complied with the order of the Speaker.
I think Dr. Barton Scotland has become so
autocratic. Yes.
And power has gone to his
head. This is the problem. It is not that Ejil or any other Speaker spoke longer than he was allowed. There's a bigger problem in the place, the way that the Parliament is being run. All these tendencies towards autocratic rule, these tendencies have intruded into the Parliament. And the whole situation, everybody is becoming autocratic.
But do you accept that Ejil should have taken his seat when he was called upon to do so?
Ejil was called upon to... No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't. Because the time to speak, the time to discuss the budget has to be agreed between the two sides. It wasn't done.
My view is this.
It wasn't done.
I have looked at the budget for the Ministry of the Presidency. That's a runaway train.
Yeah.
When it comes to expenditure.
Yeah. 8 billion, I think, yes.
Now you have more programs, but I don't think Scotland, I really don't, with all due respect to him, was even familiar with the estimates. He would have realized, look, you have far more programs under the Ministry of the Presidency.
And you need more time.
You have far more money.
Money and more time. Yes.
The budget for the Ministry of the Presidency is now
8 billion.
2.5 times what it was.
He doesn't see it like that. But you cannot discuss this event in isolation from what happened in the Parliament when the President went to speak and the opposition had displayed the placards and so on. All that...
Wasn't that unparliamentary behavior? by the opposition?
In our system, yes. It's in our
It was
system.
clearly
It is.
unparliamentary.
But I think what happened with Ejil had also to do with what had happened, what the PPP people had done to the president. You cannot separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mood that came over from that attempt to disrupt the president. Then you had the Santa Claus woman. She came into the parliamentary chamber when Jagdeo was speaking. That was deliberately orchestrated. So you've had a whole series of events for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Tell me about this.
Santa Claus?
The speaker saying he doesn't know who called the police.
Oh, well, good.
He controls Parliament.
Well, since the speaker says that he doesn't know, he should not say therefore that I'm in charge of this place. You cannot have cake and bake. You can't have cake and eat it. You cannot say I'm in charge of this place, but I don't know who called police. If you don't know who called police, you have to stop saying that you're in charge of this place.
That's dereliction of duty.
Yeah.
He should have had an investigation straight
Right away, yes. And the investigation into the Santa Claus lady that came through the government side into the National Assembly. So Scotland cannot have it both ways. On one hand saying, I'm in charge of this place. And when I give an order, it has to be obeyed. And then in the same breath, he said, I don't know who called police.
You know,
no.
I'm glad you...
They got something called estoppel, I think. And Scotland knows that. He's a trained lawyer. He cannot do it.
You
cannot do it.
You got this view, and I don't know if Mr. Trotman holds that view as well. But the standing orders of the National Assembly are an internal document. They don't have the force of law. All he has to do is read Chang's decisions in some of the recent constitutional cases. You do not have... People have the right. The Constitution trumps anything in this country.
You know that.
And so, you can't... For you to get the police... You have to have probable cause.
Yes. You have to have probable cause that
What
a crime
offense was he
is being committed or there's
Or is about to be committed?
Yes.
Or is
All,
suspected
the
of-
government should answer all those questions. Who called the police? And the police should answer, what are you doing inside here? Do you see a crime being committed or about to be committed? And the whole arrest of Ejil yesterday and taking him down to the Brigdami, it just adds to this
But
whole...
surely that is unacceptable
Acceptable.
behavior by the police.
Yes.
Should Ramjatan be held responsible?
Absolutely.
I mean, Ramjatan is
Ramjatan-
so incompetent.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no word to describe his incompetence. But that is further
The
incompetence.
police say they take...
Shouldn't Ramjatan answer for that?
Police...
Should Ramjatan answer for that
He should
yesterday?
answer, but his men, his rank saying, we taking orders from the speaker. The speaker tell we lock up this man, don't allow him in the place. He said we taking orders from the commissioner, from the minister of Home Affairs. He said we take orders from the speaker. The speaker said when you see a jail come here, lock you up. So that's what you have here in Guyana now.
But-
the Guyana
but-
police force telling the citizens, we taking orders from the speaker.
But Gaskin, Mr. Gaskin, sorry.
You could call me Gaskin, it doesn't matter.
Even
No,
though you
then-
call me Ram, it's all right.
Yeah, I
no,
don't want to Mr. thing.
no, listen.
Yeah, I've never called myself Mr. You know, I don't know.
No, people love to say, I'm Mr. Ram. No.
You're
I don't.
Mr. Ram,
No,
I'm
I don't say
Gaskin.
that. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't ever say that. No. But you can't... The speaker can't do
the
that.
whole thing is out
That
of
is
order.
completely
The
unlawful.
whole thing is out of order. It's like a banana republic. It's worse than a banana republic because you won't even get that in a banana republic.
You know, I used to have a lot of respect for the speaker.
Me
But
too.
I think he's a miserable failure.
Yes, since he got into this, since he became the speaker.
And Ramjatan
he used to be a gentleman when I spoke to him.
Ramjatan should explain the conduct of the police yesterday.
Ramjatan-
What offense was Bishop
Being-
Wanajil committing
Committing
or about to commit?
to arrest him. And how did they get into the chamber? Ramjatan has to find out from the police. Since Scotland said, I don't know, somebody got to tell the citizenry how the police get into the chamber. It had never been done in the history of Guyana, or British Guyana, nor Guyana. And we need to know that.
Now-
we need to know that.
Whilst all of that is going on, that theater,
Uh-huh.
which is
That ignorance, and that ignorance.
yeah, which
Uh-huh.
is even in the streets,
Uh-huh.
you don't get that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. We have the speaker again saying that, look, we are shutting down this debate. 20 whatever billions of dollars, there will be
23
no.
billion. There will be no debate on it.
Now, that is taxpayers' money.
He has no authority.
And our representatives in the National
He
Assembly
has no authority
have a
to do
duty
it.
to us.
And he has no authority. Because the debate on that appropriations bill, the debate on money matters, and money matters themselves, and the fund occupy a position in the Constitution in 2016. Occupies an important
216,
position.
217, 218, 219.
And therefore he has no authority to shut it down, because 216 and 217 talks about this thing. He cannot shut it down and said, I'm not allowing debate on this thing.
Now, what does that say for us taxpayers?
No, for the
For
country.
Well, two things. For the country, when you have that kind of autocratic behavior, and for the taxpayers,
we see this behavior. We're on this slippery slope to authoritarianism and dictatorship. We see it. I see it every day. We see it with the Patterson appointment. We see it all the time. We see it with Scotland's behavior. We see it in the National Assembly. We see it all the time. We see it with the decisions on GuySuCo. I see it all the time.
You have copies of the estimates are very hard to come by. Copies of the budget speech.
That's good for
I don't know if you've managed to get a copy.
No, they can't get those things. Not so easy.
When you look at some of these ministries, some of their other charges and so on,
no, it's all crazy.
It's frightening. Level of
Oh,
pushing
yes.
money out there.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, what is happening, I think, in this economy, outside for some people who do their gold and the Cubans and the people trading in the street, the government spending now is the engine of growth. Is a main engine of growth here. There's 267 billion US that is being spent. But we have to look at this whole phrase what's called the engine of growth. The private sector like to tell people they're the engine of growth. I don't see that. The 267 billion US is the engine.
Well, it's spending. Spending does not mean growth.
Spending is not growth, but the engine that drives spending and jobs and consumer action and imports and exports, all that. The 267 billion US that the government is responsible for spending. Outside the payroll, you have another, if the payroll is 50 something, you have another 210 billion US in goods and services. That's an important.
Well, you have pensions costs quite a lot of money.
All of that is very important to get this economy moving.
You have the constitutional bodies. You have a body like the Public Procurement Commission. Those people are being paid full time.
Oh yes.
It's almost as though we don't have any sense.
They haven't been doing anything.
No, but we don't. We have no sense of
proportion of
money. You can't run a business like that.
That's how they run it. You run it. You spend like a drunken sailor, and then you borrow. You spend and borrow,
and then you pay people to do a job, and then they gone out, and you have to pay them to stay out.
That's correct.
The daily allowances are. Traveling is becoming a big cost.
I noticed the president was spending some time in the Nairobi Zoo feeding some elephant there.
Well, he went there because of it was a
climate change thing. But it wasn't was a technical thing, though. It was not for a heads of state thing. But anyhow, he went. He got his per diem, he was feeding the elephant there at Nairobi. But the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the president feeding the elephant is that you talk about the irony of feeding the elephant, but what about the sugar workers' children? Who's going to feed the sugar workers' children? That's what struck me right away. That the elephant is well fed, and what about these children and the children at Wales Estate? That's what struck me right away. And I hope he gets a chance to reflect on it. He claims to be a Christian man and all of that, and familiar with the scriptures. He should reflect on that. To feed the elephant and not to feed the sugar workers' children. And I'll say to him directly to pay attention to these matters.
Well, we have a situation where, for example, the year-end bonuses that were paid to workers in the state sector.
I think that's been abolished. They don't have that this year.
No.
No.
Now,
But you got many more of them now. You have many thousands more of them in the sector, in the security services and in the regular
now
traditional public sector.
We had a commission of inquiry into the
The
public sector.
service.
All
Yeah.
this great expansion, is that within the recommendations of the Lachman report?
I don't think they're serious about reforming this public service here is due for major reform. You have a lot of bodies in the place, low wages, low technology, low productivity. Here they don't like to talk about productivity at all. But we have to look at a public service that is well paid, that is technologically up to date, and has reasonable productivity. We have to deal with those three items.
Well, we had the commission of
No, but they
Are you
can't
calling
do
for
it.
another one? What are we going to do?
No, they can't do it.
Who's going to look at it?
They can do it.
So who's going to
You
look
have to
at
get serious people to look at it.
So-
People who understand. People
No,
who
I'm
understand
so-
productivity,
No.
efficiency, technology, and so on.
Under what framework are they going to do that? Is it a consultancy you're saying, or a commission of inquiry? Which one?
Under the Granger administration, he already had one.
Yes, so what are we going to do? And things haven't got any
You're
better.
not going to get anywhere with that, with the public service, with low wages, low technology, low productivity, and all of that with Granger government. You're not going to get any place with that.
Let's talk for
Yeah.
the last, we got about 30 minutes, about this signing bonus.
Well,
Now-
Ram is getting all the credit and the praise for bringing
No.
the signing bonus to our attention.
Well, no, but the problem is this.
You'll get a national award next year, I think.
You giving me one?
Well, I don't know, the government. If I were to give out awards, I have a whole set of different people I will give them to.
No, but on a serious note, Raymond.
I'm serious.
I am serious. The ExxonMobil
Uh-huh.
and the government of Guyana quietly signed a new petroleum agreement when none was necessary. None was necessary.
Well,
Now, hold on. It was figured out that, look, the new agreement was an excuse for ExxonMobil paying to the government of Guyana the signing bonus. That has not been challenged.
go ahead.
So what is your take on this? What's your take on the necessity with ExxonMobil agreeing to sign an agreement when they had a valid agreement that ran for 30 years, that had several years to run?
Well, I think that the new government had every opportunity and necessity and obligation to look at this old agreement that they inherited that was signed in 1999, I think, when Janet Jagan was president, and to see whether they can get a better deal now that they're about to issue the license for the actual production. I think they had an obligation to look at it. Because that deal that Janet Jagan signed with them, which Jagdeo kept secret since 1999 June, is a bad deal, was a bad deal, and needed to be looked at seriously.
But
So I think they had an obligation to do it. But all this thing is being done secretly.
but if you had an look,
I had an
We have said,
opportunity
hold
to,
on.
an obligation and an opportunity,
Hold
because
on.
now we have to give them the license for production.
hold on, Raymond, hold on. It wasn't Jagdeo administration. It was Janet
Janet
Jagan.
Jagan. Janet Jagan, Sam, Jagdeo, and Luncheon and Ropes and Bend, the five of them.
No.
Those are the people.
You don't know that for a fact.
I know that.
No, you don't.
Ropes and Bend signed the paper. He signed.
It was signed by the president, but that's beside the point.
His name is
What
there.
we know, it was that agreement unlawfully gave to ExxonMobil
The
600 blocks.
to begin with. Started off with illegality.
Should Trotman not have said, when that thing came up, said, look, we cannot allow this illegality to continue.
Yes, that is what I just said.
So we've
He had
accepted $18 million.
He had an obligation and an opportunity. Now the time for the production license to say, look, we have looked at this thing and we can't run with this nonsense.
Whether production license or not was coming up, he had a duty to say, look, we're putting this entire agreement on the table and it has to be within the framework of the Act.
Well, he could have said that, yes, on the question of blocks.
Yes.
But on the other matters that had already been agreed on, because the pacta sunt servanda rule, the people say, no, we already have a deal. We cannot.
No, but the blocks was
against the law.
That was against the law.
Yeah, but on the other matters of the agreement, they say we can't renegotiate this deal each time government changes. We have to have some stability in this thing. He had an obligation and an opportunity to look at it and say that now that we're going to issue the lie, we have to look at this whole thing and see if Guyana can get a better deal, because that deal, that Janet Jagan thing, it's bad. It's a bad deal for this country with the 1% royalty.
But you can say that with the benefit of hindsight at the time. Now, to me, the worst thing on that deal was the 600 blocks.
Yeah, that's one, the illegality. That was illegal. But we can say that, not with the benefit of hindsight, we can say that...
Yeah, you don't need hindsight with that.
No,
that was illegal.
We can say that when we compare this document, this production sharing agreement, with what has been done all over the world in other countries.
You would have to compare it with a 1999 situation.
Yeah, yes, and we can say that when you look at it, this doesn't look good.
But we're talking about this signing bonus now.
Oh, the signing bonus.
This $18 million
Yes.
that the government has taken. And they didn't want people to know.
Well, I don't know if the government, let me say, I don't know if it's 18 or 20 or 25. What the government is saying, 18 came to Guyana. What Exxon is saying, they transferred 18 to Guyana. We don't know if there was more money that was transferred some other place, but what they're saying is that 18 was transferred here to the Bank of Guyana. 18 sounds like a very odd number to me. It don't look wrong.
Usually is multiples of
so
10
20, like 20 or 30 or 40. But 18
it's a strange number. It's a strange.
I'm not sure if that was the total number.
Trotman should at least explain why he took 18 and not 20.
Well, Exxon should tell us if it's 18 or 20 or 25. Because all Exxon said that 18 was transferred to Guyana, to the Bank of Guyana. And that may be true, but I want to hear the whole story. Was that the totality of the money? Was that the total? Was there other monies? I think Sharmas, the Auditor General, said he wants to find out. Well, he should.
This now, with this, now that in 1999 oil prices was what? $18 or something.
It was low. It was low.
Very, very low.
Our prices were low in 1899, but the act was there.
Yeah.
99, but the act was there.
Yeah.
On the 60 blocks.
On the 60 blocks, yes.
And the 1% royalty, when you look at all the contracts.
But Trotman came on this program and lied. Raphael Trotman came on this program. He said, "Oh, we only think with the
royalty,
1% royalty.
You raised the 1 to 2, yeah.
Yes.
He said we get double more. We get double than what these other guys were able to get. That's what he said. No. Are you surprised when you know that politicians lie? They lie all the time. What you think? They lie all the time. All of them, from both sides.
No, Raymond, you can't. We just can't pass over these things. This is serious.
But you sound like you're shocked that these guys are liars. I'm never shocked. I think all of them are liars, to tell you the truth.
No.
And I keep saying that, but I'm really fed up with both sets of them.
Tell me something. My view is that ExxonMobil itself is not, among oil companies, is not such a bad company. Not bad. Well, Shell.
I don't know how you call not bad and so right. Bad and bad.
No.
All I'm willing to say of ExxonMobil is that they appear to be technologically superior to all the rest of them. But I don't see if they're not bad or better.
Do you think it was responsible of them to get involved in in a matter when it comes out? Embarrasses everybody?
Oh yeah, but ExxonMobil ain't behaving nice in this whole deal. They involved in a lot of secret dealings since 1999 between them and the Jagan government and Jagdi and all of them for 18 years. We never heard about this thing at all. So they've been involved in a lot of secrecy in this country since 1999, and they continue to be involved in a lot of secret dealings with these politicians of both parties, the PPP and the PNC.
Now,
Ain't looking good. ExxonMobil ain't looking good.
The
in my
government
books.
received this money
Mm.
since sometime in 2016.
Yes.
It has not appeared in the books
Mhm.
in 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
or
28,
projected for 2018.
Well, you're
Is-
an accountant by profession, and you know that people keep 2 sets of books. They keep more than 1 set of books. You familiar
Ramon
with-
Gaskin clients don't do that.
Your
you know.
clients don't do, but
No,
accountant,
no.
you know.
We would
it's
send them
done.
away.
You
We would
say-
send them away.
Well, they
Seriously.
got funny set of bookkeeping up there.
No, but you
Jordan never
no,
spoke about it, and that is why I said earlier the numbers in the budget are wrong. The numbers are wrong. That budget presented at the National Assembly, Winston Jordan should be referred to the Committee of Privileges for having come to the National Assembly or presented a budget to the National Assembly and the nation
Knowing
was
that it was wrong.
knowing that the whole thing wrong and the numbers wrong. And when you ask him about, he tell you about the figment of whose imagination, a lot of arrogance and a lot of ignorance coming from Winston Jordan. He should be referred to the Committee of Privileges, not the jail. Not Agile for speaking too much. For Jordan is the man that committed the big sin by bringing a lot of wrong numbers to the National Assembly. But Scotland didn't see that up to now. Scotland had to go to the silver optical so you could see it.
Now, it's coming out bit by bit from the government. Today, President Granger said, don't blame anybody, it's me.
Is that right?
He said the money is in escrow.
In
Now,
escrow?
that escrow involves a third party. This is the government with the government bank. You can't, Mr. Granger, you
But
can't
you
have
own-
an
you own
escrow
money.
account. Sorry.
But the
Something
money,
is wrong.
The money in escrow, and I think the new contract also in escrow. So we can hear where they can come out of this escrow account. The money and the new agreement. We're waiting to see it. We're waiting to see. He said we're gonna get it in this month, right? Okay.
We got a few, just about 3 minutes more, Mr. Gaskin.
It's all ridiculous. It's all ain't looking good.
Does it bother you? We have not had a single barrel of oil or a pint of oil produced as yet. And money for oil has such problems in disclosure, accountability, and transparency.
Oh, well, on the question of oil produced, we don't know. That we don't know. If any oil has been brought up to the surface, that we don't know. I am hearing that oil has been brought up to the surface.
That can't be, man. No. I
Listen
think-
to me. We don't know. If anybody tells me he knows, I would say you can't know unless you're on the thing out there. We don't know.
Well, they don't have
But the
the
big
well
problem-
built as yet.
We don't know what we know what they got out
Oh,
there.
no, but
we
no,
don't know
we
nothing.
can't-
But what I've observed in the newspaper last week, I think the ministry is putting out bids for oil spill containment equipment and all of that. My question is, we haven't even received any money from these people out there signing bonus. Do the taxpayers of this country have to make these investments in all this oil spill equipment? Or this oil spill equipment thing and prevention and containment of spills is the business of ExxonMobil? Whose business is it?
Isn't that a matter for the contract that Trotman went and negotiated, apparently all by himself and a few friends?
Well, in the original contract, the old class 26, 26, it says that in the case of a spill, the company must tell the minister about it, and if they can't do it, he must do it. So we have a lot of problems here. We have a lot of problems.
On that problematic note, I want to say thank you very much. At short notice, my other guests having stood me up. So thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Operators and viewers, thank you and good night. See you next week.